everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me already, my name is Leela and I own a shop called Levy Vintage where I sell a hand-picked selection of vintage clothing online and a little bit in person as well. But today I want to share with you guys the process behind this space. So this space went from being kind of an unusable attic space, unfinished, uninsulated, to becoming this space where I have the opportunity to expand and grow my business, have more storage, and just grow a little bit bigger every day, which I'm so grateful for. And I wanted to share with you guys how we did this by ourselves without contracting any additional help, the cost of all the materials that we got and all the money we saved doing this 100% by ourselves. And I want to share with you all the video content that I took time to create while I was doing this project with my mom. So I am going to go through video footage of that. There's some pictures in there, but I'm going to be kind of talking over the video stuff and explaining what we're doing as we're doing it. So if you're interested in renovation type stuff, seeing how we did this and how we were able to change this space from what it was, see before and after photos, if you're into that kind of thing, definitely follow along. I know this isn't super vintage related. If you're subscribed to my channel, that's probably what you're looking for, but maybe this will help you get inspired to change your own space and expand your own small business, or have more hanging rack space for your clothes. So I hope you'll follow along, and I'm so excited to share with you guys this project. So let's get started. So the first thing to do to get the ball rolling on this project was to take down this very cheap and thin particle board that was lining everything in this room. And once we got that down and piled it up and took it to the dump, it was really fun to see all the beams and all the wide pieces of wood that were structuring this room and that were structuring the roof of the house. It was really cool to see that and get everything down to the bones level. And then I could really start to see how we were going to make this room change possible. So the next step was to frame out these beams to make sure that when we installed the sheetrock, we were installing it onto a level and secure surface. So we used a combination of wooden framing and metal framing, because metal framing is slightly cheaper than wood. So we used a combination of the two, and here's a little bit of what it looked like as we were doing that. And after we got all the framing done, we installed insulation. So this room was completely uninsulated, which is kind of crazy because of how cold the main winters are. So we got pieces of insulation that would fit between these beams really well and have a nice snug and tight fit. We also got those black plastic pieces, nailed those in there so that we could keep the airflow going from the walls to the ceiling and not have any stagnant air in the walls there. And this was actually a super fun process to install the insulation. It was just really satisfying to see it all come together. My mom knew how to do it. She showed me how to do it. It was a skill that I felt like really excited to learn. And I also was really excited to know that I was creating a more efficient home. Like heat efficiency is really important to me. So that really didn't take us that long, the insulation part of this project. So it was kind of a fun and exciting thing to accomplish right off the bat. So we also installed a heat pump in this room. This is a really small one, but I'm really grateful that we got the chance to include that in this project. And here's my dad doing some electrical work with me. He is a licensed electrician, so it was really cool to have him come in and do some of these projects for me and get up into those tight areas. And so then we started bringing up pieces of drywall because drywalling was the next step. And this was a really challenging thing to accomplish, but something I'm really grateful I got the chance to learn how to do. Again, nothing in this house was very level or straight, so it was hard to get these pieces into place. It really was. They were really heavy. We had to hold them up while the drilling happened, and luckily we couldn't have done it like just one person. We had to do it, the two of us working together, and we were able to screw everything in, figure out where the studs were, and get it all nice and secure. So that was a cool thing to get done because once the drywall is up, you can really start to see the room come together, and it looks so different than before. And so that was really exciting. And so this is kind of what it looked like once a lot of the drywall was up, and coming up is a better picture of the drywall as well, all in place. And then the next thing to do is tape and mud, which is really challenging, especially when you have all of these angles. So my mom kind of took that project and did a lot of it herself because she's very skilled at taping and mudding, so I'm super grateful for that. And then after the taping and mudding, we put on a coat of primer and started countersinking the nails in the floor, because even though this was meant to be a subfloor, we decided we were going to use it as the floor. So then here are some pictures of our friend Butch coming to give us a hand. He was super supportive of this whole project and brought us a lot of coffee, so very grateful for him. So then we rented this crazy looking machine to sand the floors, and it was really challenging to use, and huge props to my mom for figuring that out. And I used a small orbital sander to get into all of the angles and make sure that all of the corners and sides were nice and sanded. So this was really challenging. I've never inhaled so much sawdust in my life. We didn't really have the proper masks, so next time definitely using N95s. But here is the sound of the sander. My mom was still sanding. I had to take a break and do some work. It was just shaking everything in my kitchen. It was unbelievably loud and just crazy, like shaking the whole house. So then this is what it looked like before we sanded the floor, and here's what it looked like after we sanded the floor. So then the next step was to go in with a 220 grit, very fine sandpaper, and then we would vacuum, and then we would do, and by the way, this is after we put finish coats on the floor. So we put the finish coat, do a little sanding, do a little vacuuming, another coat, a little sanding, a little vacuuming, and then it looked like that. It looked so good. I couldn't believe that the wood turned out like that. So then we started on the painting, and we tackled the ceiling first, which was really hard and doesn't feel super great on the neck and the back. So glad that didn't take us too long. Then we had our friend Butch come back and install these super cute, we call these like schoolhouse style fixtures. So we got those installed, and I was super excited to get some nice looking and sort of classic looking fixtures for my studio. I love this picture of my mom and Butch and my grandma together. So then my grandma did come to help a little bit, which was great, and we started on the wall painting. I use a color called cream froth that I'm obsessed with. It's like this creamy antique color, and I absolutely love it. I think it's a very soft and warm color and perfect for an older house. And we paired that with white ceiling paint, a white flat ceiling paint, and a semi-gloss white trim paint, and all of those, the white and creams together, I think looks really good. So painting is my favorite part of a renovation project. I'm good at it, and it's really like one of the biggest final stages to finishing a room. So that was fun, and it was also fun to work with my grandma. We had 3 generations of women working on this project, which is pretty cool if you ask me. So a little side note here, I wanted to tell you that I spent a little bit under $4,000 on the materials for this project. If you ask a contractor how much it costs to have this done, it's closer to $34,000. So we saved a ton of money doing this on our own. While I was painting with my grandmother, my mom was finishing up some things with this weird small door on the other side of the room that just leads down into the shed. Like there's literally nothing there. It makes no sense. We call it the Hobbit door because it's so small and it just leads to nowhere. So she was doing some stuff with that, and then once we finished the wall paint, we started on the trim paint. And trim painting is always really fun because, again, it just is, everything's starting to come together and starting to look really good and go nicely with one another. We did some other smaller projects too, like coming up I'll show you how we fixed up this little step down to that Hobbit door. We put beadboard in there where there had originally been particle board.
He gave it some white paint and it looks a little bit better now than it did before. I just think small things like that make a huge difference. But here's me trying to like do that satisfying type of pulling the tape away video. Didn't really work that well, but that's okay. So then here we're installing the baseboard, which was really hard because the walls weren't straight, which again, like I said before, nothing in this room was really that straight to begin with. So these boards were kind of coming out from the wall in certain places and had to be like screwed in, which generally you're not supposed to screw in baseboard. You're supposed to just nail it in kind of lightly. And so some areas we had to like push it really hard and screw it to get it to stay. We did use some liquid nails in there to give it more security, but it was just really hard to get it to look straight and to not have like, you know, openings in some areas between the baseboard and the wall. But eventually we got it and we kind of found a system for making it look good. So that started to come together as well. And here's a funny video of me trying to use this light switch, which is not for the overhead lights. It's actually for a switched outlet that's just below it. So anyway, we did some caulking on the top of the baseboard to kind of hide some of the areas where it was coming out from the wall a little bit, and that helped it look a little bit more smooth. And then we got to start with the fun parts. So we got all of our flanges and nipple pieces, got those on Amazon, and we started installing them before we got the pipe pieces for the hanging racks for the clothing that I'm going to store in here. So once we had those pieces up, we took measurements and ordered the pipe. But then you might wonder how we knew where to screw these things in. We took notes on all of that stuff, which was super helpful. So then the pipes came in at the lengths that we requested, and we took down all of the flanges and nipples so that we could kind of put things together with the pipes and then reinstall it. So we were kind of working backwards for a little bit there. And then there were some areas where we weren't tapping into a stud like we thought we did, so we used those drywall special screws. So then we put everything together and put it all back up, which was super fun because I was really, you know, seeing the vision come together, and it was just really exciting to be thinking about this for so long and thinking about this style of hanging rack and then finally getting to put it up. Super exciting. So then this is kind of what it looked like at the end once all of that was installed. I thought it looked really good, and this is kind of the final product. I mean, I just can't even believe that we did this all by ourselves. I think it looks amazing, and I'm so excited to grow in this space and add to this space as time goes by. And we put this big rug in that had belonged to the Solon Hotel just down the road, and it's a giant rug, and this is the only room it fits in, so I feel like it belongs here. But as I close out this video, I just want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my mom for walking me through this whole project and teaching me everything she knows. I'm just really grateful. So thanks for following along.